You got the keys, now what? Most people think that the journey begins after you signed all those papers away at closing. You then sat there and signed your life away. But honestly, that's where home ownership actually begins. Today, we're going to talk about everything that happens after closing. I'm so excited about this topic because all of this is going to be about how to make you a more successful homeowner. Welcome, guys, to another episode of Teach Me Tuesday. Right now, we have the duo, me and Mr. Wilmot Berry here to give you guys some practical tips and advice on now that you're a homeowner. Let's say after you actually buy a house, what actually comes next. I think this is so important because not
Right.
only do we kind of teach you guys about how to prepare for home ownership, I think
Mhm.
as another tool for preparation, learning what actually happens after you become a homeowner is super important as well, because
Absolutely.
during that planning process of becoming a homeowner, having that, final step, that end step in mind, it'll help you kind of put some things into perspective as you are journeying through this home ownership journey of ours. All right, so we're gonna jump right in. So to you get to the closing table, you got your keys, now you're all excited, you took all your pictures with your agents, you may have even done a final walkthrough in the beginning. And so now what? So of course you done celebrate, but you want to make sure that you kind of do some key things before that starts. I'm not really sure if it's buffering just on your side, Wilmot, but I don't know. I'll see if you come back here. But let's just keep going and I'll see if you hop back online. So first step I would always tell people is you want to make sure you change the locks or rekey your home. I think that is a big one. Some people, if you're buying new construction, I think is different if you're buying new versus if you have a resale home, a home that was previously owned by someone else. But if you're truly um, buying a house that was previously owned by someone else and they physically gave you keys, I would strongly consider, either changing the locks. You can sometimes it can get a little bit more expensive depending on how many doors you got and how many set of keys you want and things like
Right.
that. You might got to get with the locksmith to, go in there and redo them. But sometimes the more affordable option, welcome back, the more affordable option
Yeah.
would be to get to get your locks rekeyed. So we're just talking about some first steps of not to forget, Wilmot, when a person
Absolutely.
just jumps in. Now, do you recommend your buyers to either change their locks or rekey? Do you do one over the other, or do you think either one depends on what their budget allows? No, I lost you. Well, when he comes back in, I'll keep going. I think rekeying is just as fine. I think it definitely works. In the meantime, I tell you to always update your mailing address. Sometimes people forget that simple task, that simple step of, hey, you to move from one place. You want to make sure you update that mailing address with your bank. You want to make sure you do it with especially important bills or expenses and things of that sort. You want to make sure you transfer utilities if you haven't done that already. Sometimes, that previous owner may keep the utilities on for a little bit, and then sometimes they don't. It looks like Brian did type us a question like, what type of warranties should a new homeowner explore? That's very good. That's a very good question, Brian. And it can vary. So sometimes if when you're buying a new home, and if it's, I'll say if it's new construction, meaning that you went to a builder, they built the home, a lot of times new construction kind of already has some warranties built in already. You kind of get the manufacturer's warranty, you get a year warranty for certain on a lot of the appliances, the structures, things like that. But you can purchase outside warranties as well, which is good to have to cover like your HVAC and plumbing, electrical, which is super important to have. You never know, even though you may buy something new, or even if you're buying something that's pre-existing, you never know, when something may malfunction because, things aren't perfect. We lost Wilmot, but I think he was having some technical difficulties, but hopefully he maybe pop back in. If not, I'll continue to go down my little list here. So we talked about changing the locks or rekeying the locks. We talked about transferring utilities. We also talked about making sure you update your mailing address. So let's go into making sure you save all your closing documents in a safe place, because You never know when you're going to need it. Like sometime whenever you want to refinance, or if you're wanting to do any changes to the property, your HOA may ask for the documents. Make sure you have, if you have a safe or if you have something like that, you want to make sure that you're have access to that stuff. Welcome back.
I'm so sorry. I had all of these
It's okay.
techniques
It's okay.
right
It's
now.
okay. So while you're getting set up, Brian had another question about pest control. That is important. Sometimes I know, like we bought the last house, the current house that we have right now, we bought it new. And when we bought it new, the builder already had like an existing termite bond on our
Mm,
home. And so when we bought it, that termite bond transferred to us along with the pest control services that we could have as well, which was great. We just kind of carried on with what was there. But if you're in a situation where you didn't buy new, or you're buying in a pre-existing or a resale home, you definitely want to make sure you look at pest control, because especially right now it's so hot. I know mosquitoes with all this rain we've been getting, so you want to make sure you kind of do your part as well when it comes to pests. What about you, Wilma? Do you think between the one of the questions Brian asked early on was about home warranties? Do have you seen that to become more common when people buy?
absolutely. I try to encourage trying to negotiate that in the contract for home warranties. I'm gonna tell you why. Because guys, let me tell you something. You can have a home inspection. You can have a lot of different people look at that home. But when you actually live in that house, okay, you're gonna
Mhm.
actually experience every bit and piece about that home and notice some things that wasn't probably caught during the home
Yeah.
inspection. And then that way your home warranty would kick in for those items that you probably missed. Or prime example, when me and my wife bought our house, we had a home warranty as well. And guess what? We bought our house in, like, I want to say the spring or something. Summer came. Guess our HVAC unit conked out.
Mm.
It was working at the time of inspection. However, we had the home warranty. Called the home warranty company. They came out, repaired the unit. We was back in business. So yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So good. So one tip before we go on to number two is that when it comes to making sure you can access your closing documents, make sure you do a digital and physical copy. So if you scan them in, or
Absolutely.
if your attorney gives you, I know people still do a flash drive or a floppy disk, or whatever
Hmm.
you think you save documents on cloud or
Right.
something, just make sure
Right.
you save them electronically as well. All right,
Right.
so
I,
let's go
I tell you what.
into,
Some
go
of the
ahead.
attorneys, some of the attorneys now, they give you a hard copy and also a flash drive, as well, that have all of those closing docs in there, just in case you lose, misplace, or put something, pack it somewhere in the moving to your new home.
Mhm.
But you will have a digital copy just in case you need to look back over or something. Hmm.
Yep, yep, I love that. I absolutely love that. All right, so let's get into no, not the floppy disk. I guess I'm dating myself. I guess I'm a little older than I thought I was. A lot of people, my daughter wouldn't know what no floppy disk is.
Floppy disk, right? What's a
You don't
floppy
know.
disk? What's a disk?
Yeah, you're right. I don't even know what a disk is at all.
Mm,
Yeah. Guess I'm
mm,
getting older. Yes, I'm getting older. All right. Number two, your first mortgage payment. That's
mm,
always a big one, because sometimes, of course, like say, for example, we're in the month of July. If you close in July, you won't have a mortgage payment until September, right? And
mm,
so it skips a month. So sometimes people forget, oh, I have a payment in August, September roll around, there's a
mm,
payment due. So the attorney usually tells you at closing that, hey, um, your payment is going to be due on this day. And but
right,
once again, if you don't go back and look at those documents, you may not be fully aware of when that
right.
is. So it's important to know, when that first payment is due. Usually for all mortgages, long as you pay before the 15th, you're still in good standing with your mortgage company. But
Mhm.
usually, the earlier the better. Some people want to set up automatic payments so you can have it set up on auto draft or something like that. Some people even like, doing biweekly payments. There are some advantages to that as well. But whatever you do, the tip I'll give you with mortgage payment before we go to the next one, whatever you do, just don't be late on your mortgage. Whatever you do, don't go 30 days late. Once you go 30 days late on a mortgage payment, it will truly hurt you more than people know. One is going to drop your credit, and two is going to impact you from refinancing. It will
Wow.
definitely halt you from refinancing for at least 12 months if you have at least one late mortgage, 30-day late mortgage payment.
Wow.
So for everybody that's always want to refinance, you got to pay your current mortgage on time in order to refinance your mortgage. So you don't want
Right.
that. All right. So let's talk about escrows account, Wilma. Let's talk about those. I know in Orangeburg County, I feel like the taxes can kind of vary whether you're in, the city limits or outside the city limits and so forth. And I feel like also with insurance, insurance has been, I know here, we're in the Charleston area, the coastal, I feel like insurance have just been rising. Homeowners insurance have just been going up.
Right. Right.
But you want to make sure that you're set up properly with your mortgage company with those escrow accounts. Some people may, choose not to escrow, or they may, choose to pay their taxes and insurance outside of their mortgage. But most people typically pay it all together. Have you seen a lot of times when your clients reach out to you? I know the 4% tax is a big one. People
Mhm.
forget to do it a lot. But do your clients typically reach out to you and be like, "Hey, I got this tax bill," or something changed on my mortgage or something like that? Do you get those
Oh
calls?
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Don't, if you forget to pay, if you forget to take that document to the city a tax assessor's office, um, and you don't let them know that you are a resident and that this is your primary resident, your
Mhm.
bill will go up significantly, and
Yes.
you will feel it. So, and then at that point, I get the call, and then I'll let them know what the process is to get that rectified. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Brian asked the question, what is the benefit of biweekly payment, and does every company allow it? That is
Mm.
a great question. No, not every company allow biweekly payment. Well, I would say not every company allows you to kind of like maybe set up auto biweekly payments, but you as a consumer, or you as the client, the customer, you can elect to pay your mortgage biweekly. And the benefit of that is it helps cut down on the interest. So like if you ever heard that saying, if you make one extra mortgage payment a
Mhm.
year, you could
Right.
save, you can shave years off of your mortgage. Instead of taking 30 years to pay off a home, you can probably cut that down to 25 because you then attack the interest. Doing it biweekly allows you to kind of expedite that because you're pretty much essentially reducing the interest that's accruing between those payments, which
Mm.
which if you had an amortization calculator, the nerd in me, you'll be able to see how it's slowly
Mm.
saving you more money, and you can pay that mortgage off a lot quicker. But
That's
that
cool.
is a great question. All right, so let's go into, we talked about the escrow thing as well. Let's talk about budget for home maintenance. That is a big one. So Wilma, do you get those calls after you done sold someone a house that something done happened? We got it's flooding in the backyard. This don't
So fun.
work. You sold me this house.
So Mr. Brian, matter of fact, Mr. Brian Williams, I don't know if he's still watching. Like they gave me a nickname, and the nickname is Mr. I Got a Guy. You know,
I got a
I got a
guy.
guy. So like, whenever there's a situation at the house, garage door, water, plumbing, electrical or whatever like that, I keep some people on, on call, on standby, that I can recommend, reputable contractor that I can recommend
That's
to
good.
you that can come by, rectify that. Now, that being said, you got situations where those things happen, but also if I see I'm here, if in fact this is something that might be something that can be covered under your insurance or your home warranty, we discuss
Mm,
those types of things. Okay, it's I always say, if it wears out, home warranty. If it's a sudden accidental or direct event that occurred in the house and it's a major issue, let's call the insurance company at that point. Okay. Yeah,
Now, do you recommend, you know how like in the beginning when we're trying to, prepare people for home ownership, we tell them like, hey, it's maybe good to have, X amount save as you're preparing to buy a house. On the
absolutely.
back end, do you recommend that people have, a bit of an emergency fund or cushion for like, home maintenance stuff as well?
Absolutely, because I tell people this: you were renting, there was a landlord. Now you are the landlord. Okay,
Correct.
so you can't call, your landlord and tell them, hey, come fix this. No, you the one that has to fix this now. So that's the other side of home ownership that you got to be ready for, to keep some funds in the account, um, just in case for a rainy day, because it will be rainy sometimes. So
That
yeah.
is so true. All right, the last one we're going to hit, number 5, before we wrap up for today, is building equity intentionally. I think that's a good one, good one, good one, good one. Outside of like we talked about equity all the time, so I'm not going to go into those details about how to, make an extra payment or watching depreciation, like that stuff. More so, I want to focus on is like renovations and
Mm,
home improvements and um, things like that, because I think people tend to forget that, because once a person owns a home and they buy a home in a certain condition, sometimes people don't really make any changes. They have the same cabinet, same floor, same appliances since 1965 in the
right,
house.
right.
And they're not necessarily building what I consider building equity intentionally,
Mm,
because even though, don't get me wrong, sometimes cosmetic over improving the house with cosmetic don't necessarily add value to it, but it does. It kind of helps with the condition when you're kind of making those renovations and tightening up on that stuff. Woman, I know you do a lot of listings, you sell a lot of homes, you probably walk through a lot of homes, and you can see the difference from the people that kind of well maintain the home versus the ones that didn't. Do you want to speak on that?
right, right. Yeah, just maintaining a home, um, it does a lot for the house. Just don't let things go south. The home looks like it's worse from the day you bought it. And I get it. You live in the home. I totally understand. But I'm
Mhm.
glad you brought that up, because I think sometimes we only think we could build equity just by paying our mortgage, but you can do
Mhm.
what we call force appreciation. Okay,
I like
so
that.
and it's when someone goes into the home, makes it better. Okay, and it's certain things that could add more value than others. Square footage, new windows, new roof, HVAC
Mhm.
system, things that really make the house solid. Okay, it's not just all the granite. Now that's good. Don't get me wrong. But it's certain things that do carry more weight to add more value to your home. So yeah,
Oh, I love it. Great, great, great advice. Well, guys, that is our time for today. I feel like it goes by so fast. It
it
really
did.
does. 15
Sorry
minutes
for
go by
the
fast.
sorry for the tech tech issues I've had, but small little plug, guys. If you want to be a home buyer, okay, or a home
Yes.
owner, I have a free home buyers class tomorrow. Starts at 7 p.m. If you need the link, let me know. Message me. I will send you the link for you to register. We will be talking about everything home buying, and also what mistakes you do not want to make when you buy homes.
Love it.
Right.
So definitely check out his webinar. You said tomorrow, 7 p.m.
Tomorrow 7 p.m. You need the
All
link
right.
to register. You need to register to get the link. So yeah,
All right. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. And once again, guys, thank you guys for tuning in for this episode of Teach Me Tuesday. You guys have a great week.
have a good one.